Good day and welcome to today's webinar, Managing the Fault, Performance and Configuration of Your Networks. My name is Marc Led. I work for Steria in the UK as a pre-sales technical consultant specialising around the HP software suite. Next slide, please. Today's webinar is brought to you by the Vivit Business Service Management Special Interest Group, led by Jim Copio, myself, Marc Led, Denver Meeks and Sandy Schubert, and also the Vivit Network Management Special Interest Group, led by Chris Powers and Wendy Wheeler. Next, please. That's me, Marc Led. I've been in the IT industry for 20-something years, 25 years, and I've worked for IT service providers for the majority of that time. Roles have included pre-sales, networks, operational delivery, and technical consultancy. And I've been responsible for evangelizing the use of HP software within Steria for the last 5 years or so. Next slide, please. Today's webinar is presented by Marc Penske. He's a Senior Product Marketing Manager for HP Software, and he's based in Ohio in the US. He's got extensive experience in the management of converged communications networks. He is responsible for HP's full line of network management center solutions, and he spent his entire career within the high-tech industry and as such gained 30 years of experience. Next, please. This webinar is being recorded. It's a live session, and recordings will be made available to all Vivit members at the end of the session. There is a Q&A panel, and on the next slide we can see an example of that. And if people are interested, they do have questions. If they'd like to post the questions into there, I will ask them to Marc as we go along, and if we run out of time, we will feed questions back at the end. Next slide, please. This is an example of the webinar control panel. Questions go into the questions box at the bottom. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Marc. Marc, I'll allow you to introduce yourself and introduce your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Marc, and I appreciate it. And once again, let me say hello to all of today's participants. I know that perhaps for some of you, this is a challenging time of the day. It was for me a little bit here in Ohio. And as Marc mentioned, my name is Marc Penske, and I'm currently the Worldwide Product Marketing Manager for HP's Network Management Solutions, which are generally referred to under the umbrella term of Network Management Center. And just for a little bit of professional trivia here, I've been working with some of the NMC products for over 20 years, as Marc mentioned. So enough said. So again, it's great to have all of you here today. Please let me begin by stating that the Internet and our own networks have become an unprecedented gateway, really, to a vast wealth of knowledge and information. And I think that we can all agree its uses are virtually unlimited. In fact, I believe we are still only in our infantile stages in terms of how far we can tap these resources from an application perspective. The World Wide Web, although still relatively young in my mind, is now extremely ingrained in our culture and everyday lives for sure. We use networks like the Internet as an information highway for news, research, and a lot of other forms of data, if you're like me. Also as a communications tool that really allows millions of us every day to connect with each other over a wide variety of social media platforms. I know that, for example, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn quite a bit throughout the day. So we use networks as a way to bank, invest, and shop, and if you're like me, use it for personal education as well. But of utmost importance is the fact that networks are critical to the success of virtually every national and international business in existence today, and I'm sure you'll agree with that. Moving on to the next slide here, this is kind of the agenda I put together for you today. So from an agenda perspective, I'm really going to review just a little bit about where we are from a network management software market perspective. I'll use that as the starting point, and then I'll discuss some of the top challenges which face most network managers today, and then wrap up by providing an overview of some of HP's exciting network management offerings, which at the end of the day help us to get more sleep, knowing that the network is really being managed well for fault availability and performance. So moving on here, let me just go back once. Okay, here we go. Moving on here, we can see that market trends still remain. There's still a lot of interest in the network management software space. And this fact, despite the recent depressed economy, interest continues to grow. There's a recent IDC study that was just done that provided a forecast that the network management marketplace between 2012 and 2017 is going to grow at an annual rate of roughly 7.5%, or $4 billion, again from 2012 to 2017. There are lots of drivers for this and a lot of reasons for this, but really especially the explosion and the impact of big data and a plethora of many forms of social media applications are forcing this impact and forcing us to really take a look here at what's in store for us. But there is a high cost to network outages. I'll let you read through this slide on your own, but for a minute, consider an organization that has an electronic storefront. All of us who use the Internet can relate to this aspect because we all purchase products over the Internet at some point, and for me that was actually yesterday. As we discuss or as we access the website of the business where we want to make a purchase, we all expect a certain amount of performance with very little lag time as we shuffle through an online catalog, for example. We do this all the time. If we don't get a certain level of performance, what happens? We abandon the site, we move on, and we look for another more responsive site. It's natural, right? It happens in a lot of cases today. So if you look at the transactions that occur across an organization's network service, it's really obvious that if the network service incurs performance or fault conditions, then really the customer experience is negatively impacted and has a direct consequence on the company's bottom line. So it should be readily apparent that applications and transactions really rely heavily on that network service performing at optimal levels. This slide documents a few of those situations where network failure has caused severe business problems, not only for the organization, but also in the public's mind as well. One striking observation from this slide that you can see is the relatively high cost of network downtime. Network downtime also does not take into account future transactions that customers may likely put into jeopardy as well. So moving on here, let's talk a little bit more about things like the complexity of networks that we're facing every day. More than ever, really right now, we're faced with a much larger variety of communications equipment, protocols, hardware, application platforms. The outlook for increased network complexity is really being driven by technology breakthroughs that I mentioned before. We're really seeing double-digit growth rate relative to network demand, with traffic growing at an annual rate of 50 to 85%. At the end of the day, this growth is being fueled by the requirements of networks to support technology shifts to cloud computing. An explosion in virtualization technologies that we see today is really pushing and emphasizing this shift as well. If we take a look at Internet traffic for a moment, a recent study performed by Cisco indicates that Internet traffic alone will swell to 4 times its current size by 2016 and is going to grow by roughly 1.3 zettabytes of traffic per year. After reading the Cisco document yesterday, I really had to go back and look up the definition of the zettabyte and came up with a lot of crazy answers. But simply, a zettabyte is 1 sextillion bytes. Still a little bit hard to grasp for me and probably for you, but something that we can more closely relate to. That's 1 billion terabytes. So we can expect network traffic to grow across the Internet and our own networks at an alarming rate of 1.3 zettabytes. So getting back to what are the network challenges, managing a corporate network, I think you all agree, is becoming harder and harder as our networks are becoming larger and more complex. When we talk about network management, it includes not only the components that transport information in the network, but also the systems that generate the traffic in the network as well. The systems could be hosts, database servers, file servers, mail servers, lots of different types of servers supporting different types of applications. In the client-server multi-tiered applications environment, network control is being ever more pushed to a centralized management console. Computer and telecommunications networks are merging fast into a single converged network fabric with common communications modes and media for transportation and distribution of traffic becoming more and more apparent. Mobility is also making us to take notice of a whole new set of unrealized issues and problems with the rapid penetration of smartphones and tablets inside of enterprises, along with the workforce's demands for remote access to corporate data at all times, really. Organizations now are even facing more explosive challenges in trying to manage the complexity that networks present with the new onslaught of all these mobility applications. So we have a lot of diverse operating platforms, and we also have another fast emerging concept around bring your own device. So the bring your own device trend is where companies are increasingly permitting and opting for solutions that integrate a personal device that a person brings into the office. So again, what we have to really think about is how we're going to manage all of this change, all of this, the requirements to monitor the increasing traffic that's put upon our network because of things like BYOD. Also, please note that just in general terms, network performance is really becoming a business performance issue. Remember when I made the statement earlier that the network is the business? While the network management market is experiencing pressure from extraordinary growth in volumes and types of traffic, the bigger impact is to take note of is a shift to being able to identify now performance KPIs to establish just what my network behavior actually is. So as we look across the list of growth technologies, we have to remember that it is the user, and I really like to point it out, it is really the user who is at the heart of it all for most of us. So again, there are a lot of emerging management challenges. One of the key discussion points on this slide is really around cloud computing. Cloud is enabled, as you know, by advances, a lot of advances actually in the past 4 or 5 years in virtualization and certainly advances in networking technology. If we didn't have the networking technology we have today, we certainly wouldn't be able to support the virtualization that we see in today's markets. As technology extends network throughput and data rates, we also see, are starting to see again, pervasive deployments of public, private, and hybrid cloud computing. The key to meeting a set of well-defined cloud SLAs is successful monitoring, and that includes fault and performance management and provisioning for the entire network to sustain the cloud. BYOD, or bring your own device, is also a huge trend, not only in corporations, but also we see it today in hospitals, universities. We're allowing more and more employees to use and users to access the corporate network with a wide range of personal devices. Businesses recognize today that BYOD allows their staff to be more productive and provides a substantial cost savings on capital equipment purchases. However, the growth in personal devices connecting to the enterprise network is also a threat. And at the same time, because of increased overall network traffic and security concerns that I mentioned before. One last point of reference is UC&C on private and public cloud implementations. The future for massive UC&C implementations is also extremely positive, and more organizations are experiencing the benefits of UC&C, according to a recent poll that I read called the Collaborative Planet. What this means to us is that additional stress will be put on our networks as more and more delay-sensitive applications such as video conferencing, telepresence, IP telephony, and other applications really begin to stress the core of our network fabrics. And again, the benefits of these applications are exciting, but they also place significant demands on network performance, quality of service, and therefore providing a lot of scalability concerns and uncertainty relative to security. So moving on here, you know, what are some of the challenges that our network managers face each and every day? Well, I'll tell you this much, that as the volume of data among businesses and consumers rise simply because of increased online access, the demands on our data centers and our data center infrastructures are really growing, particularly in the realm of network bandwidth. What this also means is that traffic is increasing from server to server, while mass virtualization also demonstrates that each virtual host is also responsible for donating more traffic as well to our network infrastructures. So there are new network architectures and advanced network technologies emerging quarterly, it seems. As a result of changing network technologies, data infrastructures are undergoing a transformation and are being optimized for next generation demands, including some of the ones we just alluded to. We're also seeing a continued move to network convergence, which for network managers is really the efficient coexistence, if you will, of telephone, video, and data traffic all within the same network. But the use of multiple communications modes in a single network offers a ton of convenience that we all want to take advantage of, and a flexibility that wasn't possible 5, 6, 7 years ago. All users now demand a high quality of service and quality of experience. But what this also means to us as network managers is that there's going to be new demands that are going to be placed on monitoring solutions. Solutions must maintain 360-degree visibility into the efficiency of the entire enterprise network in pretty much real time. So monitoring solutions today must ensure a high quality of experience, and when that quality of experience is impacted, that solution must determine root cause quickly and efficiently, and I think you all agree with that. So let's talk about the top 5 key network management challenges here for a minute. So what I've done on this slide is really summarized what we believe are the top 5 network management challenges experienced by most network operators today. And don't get the idea that these are presented in any particular order, but they really should be viewed as a set of really interrelated issues. So let's examine a few of these in a bit more detail here. So as I discussed, as networks grow and complexity increases, we really need to be able to see with, and I like to use that term, absolute clarity, what negative impacts our networks may be experiencing right now because of fault, availability, performance, or a bad network change condition that has just occurred. We also have to be able to capture all the detail around current anomalies and be able to easily use past events and incident history for forensic analysis. We must be able to ensure that events and incidents do not go uncorrected, right? Additionally, we need to be able to see past a mountain of network events that we always see in our network browsers and all the churn that occurs, and turn useless, unconnected events into actionable incidents. As problem number 5 alludes to on this slide, an understanding around network performance is becoming paramount to enabling us to gauge network overall health. Not only this, network performance has to be unified with a corporation's overall network monitoring strategy, and we'll talk a little bit about that more later, but no longer can performance monitoring be implemented as a standalone tool in isolation relative to the network fault tools that you have in place. Fault and performance fundamentally are mutually dependent on one another and should be unified within a single overarching console. Lastly, I want to point you to something that we like to call automation. A lot of problems on today's networks can occur at blinding speed, as we are all well aware of. Automated network remediation is becoming another paramount capability that we have to embellish from a network management toolset perspective. There are some situations and some network problems that can be instantly corrected and avoided through simple automation. Take, for example, a condition like a duplex mismatch condition between new network devices. And this can happen for any number of reasons, right? But if your tools can analyze and alert you to such a condition, then just why not have the tools remediate and repair that situation? And then in this manner, certainly network problems can be remediated before they impact that quality of experience metric that I just talked about. So I hope this makes a lot of sense to everybody. So my goal is really, no network downtime. In fact, when I go in and I talk to customers today, I never like to bring up the idea of network downtime or network outages. And let me also say that CIOs today are really concerned about corporate productivity. Networks now impact organizations' bottom line from many aspects, including employee personal productivity to fulfilling orders with online financial systems. Now more than ever, a company's reputation is based on how well or how bad the organization's network performs. Today we're moving toward a new network operating paradigm, as I like to talk about, where network downtime and outages are really unacceptable. Business risk can appear at any time, and I think we all understand that, and in many forms. Systems can go offline. When aging components fail, there's natural disasters that strike. Key networking connections don't work for some reason, or even a local contractor cuts a power cable. Security issues can emerge and threaten the integrity of business as well, and we've seen a lot of this in the papers lately. All work could come to a halt, or portions of a business could see systems go offline while others continue to operate normally. No matter what the scenario, perhaps you've experienced some of these scenarios before, businesses must plan today for the right tools in order to obtain as much early warning as possible. Contingencies really aren't good unless you know just what happened to the network. One last note, not all network issues are hard errors, right? Consider that in April 2012, a large cloud service provider experienced a service disruption to their compute cloud services. You may even know who this probably was, right? It was triggered by a bad network configuration change being implemented. But had this customer implemented and utilized a network change management system for their change flow workflow processes and performed regular change audits, this 4-day outage impacting an entire region of the U.S. could have easily been avoided here. So the network is the business. As the Internet has evolved, IP networks have really become essential enablers to those businesses. As I mentioned earlier, today's networks support unified communications, including mail, traditional IP, as well as unified communications and collaboration. And don't forget about other media services that support revenue-generating transactions. Due to the strategic reliance on networks, as I stated earlier, companies cannot afford unplanned network downtime. Consequently, business requirements are not driving the operational objectives for network engineering and operation teams, including the top objectives that you can see on this slide. These critical objectives, as you can see here, include increasing revenue by enhancing network availability and performance, reducing expenses by improving resource utilization, reducing liability and risks by delivering compliant, secure networks, improving accountability by meeting and reporting on SLAs, and then managing change effectively and efficiently without disruption. Network engineering and operations teams really face significant challenges in the pursuit of these objectives, and I'm sure you'll agree. So network performance is becoming a business issue. According to IDC, network performance really is a business performance issue. While the network management market is experiencing pressure from the extraordinary growth in volumes and types of traffic, the bigger issue is a shift or focus to the user experience as the key performance indicator today. The explosion of data volumes and types like real-time data, social networks, video, and others is really raising the bar in terms of pushing all that network data through today's networks. So again, network performance really is becoming a business issue for us today. So where is the real pain? This is an easy question for some, a hard question for all. But again, as we've noted before, network faults aren't always discrete events. In other words, you don't get an event in a browser that says, hey, this device or this interface went down, therefore it's impacting this business-critical mission application. They're not always that subtle. Sometimes network faults and events are the result of historical events occurring in the network. Our network complexity makes troubleshooting a lot more difficult today and a lot more time-consuming. As you know, lots of network vendors, including HP Networks, is constantly coming out with new technologies to make networks a little bit more robust, but they're proving to be adding additional complexity. There's lots of human error that occurs with today's networks, and I really talked about one just a little while ago where an inappropriate network change was made, forcing part of a large network to go down, therefore impacting a huge geography of the United States. Compliance continues to increase costs. We need to have tools that allow us to help us monitor and manage compliance in today's networks. And then network change really presents unpredictable outcomes. So we really have to get a better handle on how we, number one, perform change, but then also how do we manage change? How do we roll back a configuration if that change proves to be lethal and causes faults inside of my network? So there's lots of pains out there, and I'm sure you can all add a lot more to this list. So, we're at times, and I really don't want to paint a picture here that we're lost in the woods, but at times we are. If you look around today, there's lots of tools out there. Everybody prescribes a tool that can do this, can do that for you. At the end of the day, you end up with a bunch of tools that are disjointed, really not integrated, and really don't provide any useful information at the end of the day to help you manage your network from a holistic perspective. So how do you respond? So basically what you do is, and again, based upon today's economy, you go out and you many times purchase a bunch of point tools, albeit a lot of discrete tools that perhaps don't talk to one another. But again, what you try to do is you try to buy tools that allow you to strategically and proactively manage your environment at the lowest possible cost. That may not be the best answer, but again, with economic times, that's what we typically try to do today. So with that, what I'd like to do is start a little conversation about HP's approach and how we approach just about all the types of problems that I've talked about in the past few slides. And our approach is really one that we call automated network management. And rather than saying automated network management over and over again, I'm just going to use a term that we use called A&M. And I hope a lot of you have heard about A&M in the past. But basically, A&M is really a holistic management perspective for networks today. So in other words, from a holistic perspective, what we take into account is not only fault and availability, but we also take into account performance, configuration, and process automation as being key components to that holistic view that I talked about. So the whole goal of A&M is really to allow network operators and users like yourself to fundamentally reduce the amount of time it takes to repair issues that are occurring inside of your network. So here's a brief, moving on here, here's a brief single unified view of what A&M is all about. So what we're looking at here is a graphic of the automated network management cockpit. And really, this cockpit does provide a 360-degree real-time view into your network. And I really could spend the day just talking about this particular graphic here. But what I will say here, on this slide here, you can see a great graphical representation of a large geographical dispersed network. This graphic really provides a lot of real-time feedback in terms of telling you in real time visually what the health and availability of your network is. So for example, if you take a look at the data center and you look at the little map to the right of the data center, you can see how I drilled in from the data center into a United States map, and there on that United States map I can see pretty much in real time what it is, or what the status is of the network devices in terms of their status color. So I can see that green device in the middle there is really telling me that device is fairly healthy, although one of the interfaces on the device is having some kind of major interruption, and that's being reflected back to the top of the topology. So this is that 360-degree view that we're talking about, where you integrate fault, performance, and configuration data all into a single view. So basically, A&M is really a what I like to talk about is a bottoms-up approach in terms of some of the capabilities that A&M provides here. So if you take a look at this particular side right here, automated network management really facilitates a top-down and a bottoms-up approach when it comes to monitoring a business service in your environment. It all spins around a true differentiator that we're going to see here in a minute, called, on our business service management side, sometimes referred to as the runtime service model. So with the proliferation today of virtualization and cloud, and the need for IT to really have a quality view and near real-time status of their environment, A&M provides a detailed real-time network status view that in turn gets integrated into something that we call the runtime service model. It's the runtime service model that graphically represents a key critical business service utilizing a service model or graphical-based view. All network objects that contribute to a healthy service are represented inside the service view I'm talking about. So operators can instantly identify what network infrastructure object may be that is negatively impacting a monitored business service at any time, really. So there's really 4 pillars that I'd really like to talk about here when we talk about automated network management. And one of these pillars is around the executive scorecard. The executive scorecard is really a key element when it comes to HP's IT Performance Management Suite, in that it automatically gathers metrics from across your IT systems to build a key set of performance indicators for you and for upper layer management. It provides scorecards and dashboards for managers to show them insights in business-friendly formats that can help convey the value of IT. So with the IT Executive Scorecard, the CIO, the NOC operations, or network operators, and executives can automate the gathering information from diverse sources, consolidating it, and linking it into a service hierarchy that I talked about, and presenting it in near real time. So what we really try to do with the Executive Scorecard is really provide visibility and insight into key business network KPIs around such things as network device availability, reachability, and utilization. Throughput and latency are other key areas here. So it's the network management KPIs that really help network operators and directors get better insight into their networks. So again, I alerted to this particular environment right here. Here's a picture where we have where we show how A&M participates in that real-time service model that you see on the right-hand side here. So the real-time service model is really an operational database that keeps a dynamic and near-time and real-time view of a application entity or a business service. And as I mentioned, NNMI provides the network infrastructure components into this business service management solution. So if we had the time here, you can see that on the bottom of this graphic that you see here is really all of the infrastructure components and health and availability that NNMI is reporting into this business service, service model here. So if this was, for example, a financial service that we were watching here, I can see visually all of the network elements and network components that are tied to that financial service application. So if I get a degradation with one of the network configuration items that prop up that overall service, I'm going to see real-time how that reflects back into that service model. This is a real differentiator here, if I can add. This is a real key to the value proposition that we offer by integrating, again, A&M, Automated Network Management, in with a business service model where I can see the correlation between network elements and the actual upper layer business service transactions that run across the network. So that is very, very significant. And another thing I like to point out is with A&M, we can really bring the NOC and the SOC together. One of the coolest integrations that we have, I believe, is our integration with ArcSight Logger. You know, if you realize the amount of data, the amount of events that are generated inside of our networks, on our network devices today, from firewalls, from security devices, we can actually analyze all of that information through ArcSight Logger and pass forensic detail back into Network Node Manager. So if, for example, Network Node Manager identifies a security threshold, a performance threshold that has been exceeded on a particular interface, a user can actually utilize this very useful ArcSight information to determine whether or not that was some kind of external attack into the network, and then make a decision whether or not to down that particular interface. So there's a lot of exciting capabilities when you start talking about integrating things like ArcSight Logger with Network Node Manager. So Automated Network Management is really made up of a multitude of applications. We'll briefly talk about some of these today, but the key is really Network Node Manager. So Network Node Manager is really at the heart of Automated Network Management, of our A&M solution, or Automated Network Management. And it really is a single, unified console that projects to the user the real-time fault availability, performance detail, and configuration data for every network element and configuration item that Network Node Manager is managing. So a single unified console. You don't have a console, a separate console for performance. You're not doing configuration management on a second console. Everything is unified in real time on a single console. I like to call it one-stop shopping for network managers. So Automated Network Management consists of really multiple products, if you will, all congealed into a single solution. So we have NNM that supports fault and availability. We have network automation that supports change in configuration and compliance reporting. We have a variety of smart plugins that I'll talk about that stand up and support services like performance monitoring. When I need to monitor traffic on my network, when I need to take traffic data coming out of NetFlow and SFlow and reflect that back in terms of how that is impacting my network performance in my environment. That's the domain of some of these smart plugins that we'll be talking about. And the first one, we already talked about this, is really Network Node Manager. And what I want to bring to your attention is Network Node Manager is an extremely scalable and unique single pane of glass. It offers a lot of technology that we won't get to discuss a lot today, but it is really king of the hill in terms of being able to do real-time network discovery. And that's really where it starts, with a network management, a network fault and availability monitoring tool. Inside of NNMI is something that we call spiral discovery technology that really guarantees that we discover all aspects of the network, all objects of the network, and as we're discovering those objects, we really want to take a look at network performance, and we really don't want to impact network performance. So what we do is we discover the network in phases. So you'll never see network node managers, network discovery contributing to a large amount of traffic on the network. Network node manager is very customizable, completely customizable. And it also allows the use of a great degree of configuration to customize this tool to meet your exact needs. In fact, when operators log into Network Node Manager, they log in with certain user roles and responsibilities, so they only see what you want them to see. Another aspect of automated network management is its ability to do change and configuration management through network automation. So network automation really captures all of the network changes that are occurring in real time, performs audit capabilities, and really ensures that whatever changes are made to those network configurations are kept in compliance with things like best practices or any other audit requirements that you're subject to. Very, very key part of A&M's technology. Another key for A&M's technology is really its ability to do performance monitoring. And I talked a little bit about this. Gone are the days where fault and availability management are divorced from performance management. You have to be able to determine very quickly and within a single context whether or not your issues are due to performance implications on the network or whether they're due to fault conditions on the network. And I would like to suggest that both conditions go hand in hand. So you need to be able to unify and correlate fault and performance conditions on the network through a single aggregation point, and that is the A&M console. Some of the other smart plugins that we offer with automated network management that I believe are really state-of-the-art is the network engineering toolset. Even today, in today's networks, we have certain occasions where we have huge traffic storms. Generally speaking, those traffic storms represent huge sets of events that we can make literally no type of decision relative to any kind of information that they provide back to us. So with the network engineering toolset, we have something called Trap Analytics that allows us to basically analyze that trap storm and provide feedback to us relative to things like, well, who were the top objects in the network that were contributing to that trap storm? What were the OIDs of those objects? So basically what this allows me to do is to utilize this information as forensic analysis to go back into the network and determine who is perhaps causing me the most difficulty relative to these trap storms. Maybe I have a configuration that's out of date. Maybe I need to upgrade software on the device. Whatever the case may be, Trap Analytics allows me to perform those types of functions. And also, I'll leave you with this, is that we provide for automated workflows inside of the network engineering toolset. So what I mean by that is we also include a runtime version of something we call operations orchestration used for workflow automation. So if a node in the network or an interface develops an acute problem, through a specialized workflow, we can log into that node, extract a lot of detail for the network engineer, put it in a report, and assign that report to an incident. So then when the operator looks at the incident, they have a detailed report on all the forensic analysis that workflow just done, saving that operator anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes of hunting and pecking around on a device to determine what the status of it is. So it traps the status of that device in real time, not after the fact. And then last but not least, we have a wide variety of other advanced services that really can contribute to the overall capability set that you may be looking for relative to MPLS VPNs, for example, IP telephony, or IP multicast. You know, you know, it's not enough today just to monitor the network, and I think I started off by saying this, that performance was another key aspect, but the complexity that the implementation of an IP telephony environment brings to a network, it is really, really very, very complex. So A&M supports a IP telephony smart plugin that allows me to track the health and availability of my IPT environment without me having to do a whole lot of back-end a lot of back-end work. So something to think about when it comes to making decisions around monitoring environments for some of the difficulties we face today. These spies can also lend a ton of credibility. So what I want to do is I want to bring it all together here. I know I rushed through some of that stuff, but I want to bring it all together here by kind of showing you, you know, a little bit more detail of some of the aspects we just talked about. So from a fault and availability perspective, I can see a map of Australia on the left-hand side there, and I can see visually in real time that that device in Canberra has a problem, some type of a problem. I can also see visually that the link between Canberra and Melbourne has a problem. So what I would do as an operator is I would basically drill down on that device, and some of the screens on the right-hand side there show you some of the aspects that a single drill down can provide me as an operator. So on the far right there, I can actually look at the utilization that is occurring on that fast Ethernet interface on the Canberra device. I can look at the interfaces and the links between those two devices. It can be seen in the middle of the screen. And I can also look and review all of the incidents that are associated with those devices. So with a click or two, I have a wide range of information and reports that I can tap that can help me determine very, very quickly where my problems are and what my problems are, so that I don't have to chase down a bunch of events. And in the meantime, my customers and my employees are experiencing an outage, downtime, or slowness. Now this gives you another little bit, a little bit of an idea of how important performance monitoring is to our A&M solution. So again, via a single right click of the mouse button, I can gain access to path information. So in this case, at the bottom, I am looking at a path between a Cambridge Windows-based server and the Oxford router. I can see all of the links between the path. I can see all of the interfaces involved. And optionally, what I can do on the right-hand side there, I can actually look at every point along the path and all of the performance parameters associated with the devices and the interfaces. So gone are the days where I have poor or lack of visibility in terms of performance. And again, by cascading different views from the maps down to specific performance views, I can really get a good idea very, very quickly. And just briefly, I'll go into the importance of configuration. So again, a user, through a single pane of glass, takes a look at a node. In this case, a node called Adelaide in Australia. They're having a problem with that node, some kind of an outage or poor performance. That user suspects that there might be a configuration issue, so they right-click that node, and they launch into a full-blown object which shows them all of the configuration changes that have occurred over the last couple of months. So not only that, the user can see what the latest configuration changes were made to that node and determine very quickly if the last configuration change that was made has actually impacted the reasoning behind why that node is performing so poorly or why there's a network outage. So I want to wrap up here real quickly and see if we have any kinds of questions here. But, you know, customers are really, really happy and pleased with our solutions. I won't read these slides to you, but a couple of big ones, for instance, Allianz and NEC, really point to the fact that utilizing a single tool, a single unified interface to measure SLAs in a quick and efficient manner is extremely important to their operation. And this was kind of the same thread that we saw between all of the customers using the HP Automated Network Management solution. And we're really happy and pleased to also point out that relative to enterprise management solutions today, you can see this latest EMA radar report that truly shows that HP Automated Network Management really is in that upper right high cost efficiency arena, offering an extreme degree of high product strength. So with that, I just want to let you know about a couple of things here. There's different ways of getting additional information from HP, but also more importantly, to let you know that if you go to our website, our NNMC website is seen here, we now have a brand new NNMI freemium available for your use. So if you go to that website, fill out a form, you can download a fully unlocked copy of Network Node Manager to try out on your own personal network, in your lab, or in your development environment. So with that, I'll turn back into our sponsors.
Hi, Mark. Thank you very, very much for a very informative webinar. There are currently no questions. Nobody's asked anything. So unless there are any questions, I'm going to be essentially, if you want to opt in to receive more information from HP, and by registering, you'll get an opportunity to win a $50 Amazon gift card through opting in. That'll be drawn in the next day or so. If you've got any questions, please type them. There don't appear to be any at the moment, so I'm going to say thank you very much to Mark for his time and energy, and wish everybody a very happy day.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.